अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्णा। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति विकास स्वामिनिति नामने। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, titled Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 4, titled The Process of Creation, Text 12. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Oh, sorry, I forgot to do the part. Namaha Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase Sad Udbhava Sthana Nirodha Leelaya Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam Antah Bhavaya Anupalakshya Vartmane. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Please repeat. Shukovacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sad Udbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Hita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Sri Sukha Vacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Hita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayan Lakshya Vartmane. Sri Sukha Vacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Hita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Matajis. Shri Shuka Vacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Yes. Sri Sukha Vacha. Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase. Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya. Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. Antarbhavayanupalakshya Vartmane. Sri Shuka Uvacha. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, Namaha, offering obeisances. Parasmai, the Supreme. Purushaya, personality of Godhead. Bhuyase, unto the complete whole. Sadudbhava, the creation of the material world. Sthana, its maintenance. Nirodha, its winding up. Leelaya, by the pastime of. Grihita, having accepted. Shakti, power. Tritayaya, three modes. Dehinam, of all who possess material bodies. Antaha bhavaya, unto him who resides within. Anupalakshya, inconceivable. Vartmane, one who has such ways. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Okay, time to get serious. Okay, it's Bhagavatam class. Shukadeva Goswami said, Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, for the creation of the material world, accepts the three modes of nature. He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable. Purport. This material world is a manifestation of the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And the Supreme Lord, for the creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, accepts three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankara, Shiva. As Vishnu, he enters into every body materially created. As Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, he enters into every universe. And as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, he enters the body of every living being. Lord Sri Krishna, being the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas, is addressed here as Paraf Puman or Purushottama, as described in Bhagavad Gita 15, chapter 15, text 18. He is the complete whole. The Purushavataras are therefore his plenary expansions. Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him. Because the empiric philosophers and mystic yogis cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead, he is called Anupalakshya Vartmane, the Lord of the inconceivable way, or Bhakti Yoga. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shrita Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Akanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shri Shuka Vacha Namah Parasmai Purushaya Bhuyase Sadudbhavasthana Nirodha Leelaya Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam Antarbhavaya Anupalakshya Vartmane. Shukadeva Goswami said, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who for the creation of the material world accepts the three modes of nature. He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and his ways are inconceivable." So here Shukadeva Goswami begins his auspicious prayers in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here pretty much after answering Parikshit Maharaj's question as to what a person should be doing at the time of death, what a person who is nearing death, what is the duty of such a person after, basically. So Shukadeva Goswami, after answering the question, basically by saying that one must surrender unto Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, become his devotee. And after answering that question, part of that answer, Shukadeva Goswami says that one must meditate upon the transcendental form, pastimes of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, Parikshit Maharaj now asks this question. He wants to know more about Krishna and Krishna's activities. And he begins his question he begins the discussion of the Srimad Bhagavatam by asking how the Supreme Lord created this material cosmic manifestation. So now Shukadeva Goswami begins. But before he begins the process of creation, he offers his obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These are a set of about 12 verses, which also contain very important verses. For instance, any verse? Yes. Yad kirtanam, yad smaranam, yad ikshanam, yad vandanam, yad shravanam, yad arhanam. Lokasya sadhyo vidanoti kalmasham. Tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. This is text 15. So there Shukadeva Goswami says, "Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Krishna, about whom glorification, remembrances, audience, prayers, hearing, and worship can at once cleanse the effects of all the sins of the performer." This is text 15. Another very famous verse that Shukadeva Goswami says in part of these prayers. I guess it's a tough one, but if you know. No, that's already done. Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pukkasha Abhira Sumbhaya Yavana Kasadaya Yenyecha Papaya Dapa Shraya Shuddhyanti Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. This is very famous verse. Kiratas, Hunas, Andhras, Pulindas, Pulkashas, Abhiras, Sumbhas, Yavanas, members of the Khasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord due to his being the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. So, one who is fortunate enough to, and then there's another very famous verse. Shriya patir, yagya patir, prajapatir, dhyam patir, lokapatir, dharapatihi. Patir gatis chandaka vrishti satvatam, prasidatam me bhagavan satam patihi. So this is where this word patihi means master or also consort, comes. So here that's the translation of that. That's text 20. May Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipable Lord of all devotees, the protector and glory of all the kings like Andhaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty, the husband of all goddesses of fortune, the director of all sacrifices and therefore the leader of all living entities, the controller of all intelligence, the proprietor of all planets, spiritual and material, and the supreme incarnation upon the earth, the supreme in all, be merciful upon me. So it's really amazing prayers. Prabhupada's purport, he gives long purports for all of these verses. So I had a thought, maybe some devotees can think about it, don't have to reply right now, but I was trying to find, as we're nearing Ram Navami, I wanted to see if we could learn some verses on Lord Ramachandra, but I couldn't really find much in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. There's a lot, like I was trying to look in the Bhagavatam, it's not really, like there's descriptions of Lord Rama's pastimes, there's one or two prayers that Shukadeva Goswami offers, but not really anything more. So instead I was thinking perhaps we could all chant these verses from text 12 to text 24. It's quite a lot, and they're not easy verses, tough prayers, but if we learn them, that's pretty amazing, because these contain such amazing philosophy within these verses. So that's the thought I had. Anyways, we can decide about that later. Okay, so here in this verse, Shukadeva Goswami, he says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who for the purpose of the creation of the material world accepts the three modes of material nature. So Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts three modes of material nature. That in itself, I was like, wow, Supreme Lord accepts three modes of material nature, But how does the Supreme Lord accept the three modes of material nature? He accepts it by accepting the forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shankara, Shiva. So does that mean Shiva and Brahma are equal to Vishnu? So how do we understand this? We understand that Krishna accepts the spirit of that mode, and he infuses Brahma and Shiva with that mode. And that is an energy of the Supreme Lord. And that energy and the infusement of that energy, the Shakti that comes from that energy. Therefore here it is said, Shakti. Here, what is it said? Grihita Shakti Tritayaya Dehinam. So the Tritayaya Shakti refers to the power of the modes of material nature. That power comes from Krishna. The modes of material nature, they have characteristics, right? They have different characteristics. You look at Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, Krishna describes the three modes of material nature. Unfortunately, I don't know these verses memorized. He says, Tatra Sattvam Nirmalatvat Prakashakam Anamayam Sukhasangena Bhadnati Jnana Sangena Chanagha. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating. It frees one from sinful reactions. And those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. So here, the description of Sattva Gun is that it is purer than the others, right? Then another description that Krishna gives is that it is illuminating. Illuminating means when you're in the mode of goodness, you can see things as they are, or you will know the true nature of things. When you look at a person, you will understand what his nature is. Because you're in the mode of goodness, you understand when you understand the mode of goodness, illuminating. So, here, and we discussed several times in Bhagavad Gita, when the word illumination is used, it doesn't mean an electricity bulb that goes up. What does that illumination refer to? Enlightenment, which means knowledge. Knowledge, right? When knowledge comes, jnana deepena bhashvata. Krishna uses this. What is that? What is that verse? Tesham evanukampartam aham ajnana jam tamaha nashayam atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. So that verse is very nice. So aham ajnana jam tamaha. And if you recite Sanskrit nicely, without even understanding the meaning, just by the recitation of it, you can get some idea. Aham ajnana jam tamaha. So what does that mean? From the jam, you can understand that word jam means to squash, to extinguish or to eradicate. So in this case, the darkness, aham ajnana means ignorance, darkness born of ignorance, ajnana tamaha. So that ignorance that is born of the mode of ignorance, that is darkness. Aham ajnana, what do I do? Aham, what do I do? Jam. Aham ajnana jam tamaha. Nashayam atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhashvata. So jnana deepena bhashvata. That this through the illumination of knowledge, all the darkness is eradicated. So this is second quality of the mode of goodness. Third quality of the mode of goodness. What is that? Krishna says that no. He says it is anamayam, meaning it is free from all sinful reaction. Free is one from sinful reaction. Meaning if you're in the mode of goodness, you are very careful about avoiding sinful activities, but not only are you very careful about avoiding sinful activities, you also destroy your previous sinful activities. Why? Because you're pious. You're pious. Pious meaning you will perform pious activities. You will do different. You will go bathe in the Ganga. You will hear from sadhus. You will serve the sadhus. You will serve guests. You will treat all living entities nicely. You will perform prayaschitta. All these things you will perform. So you become free from sinful reactions. And as a result, what do you have? They are conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. Krishna says, Sukha sangena bhadnati jnana sangena chanaga. Sukha sangena jnana sangena. So Krishna uses this that he says that they become associated with that. Okay, how is the mode of passion? Rajo ragatmakam vidhi trishna sanga samudbhavam tannibhadnati kaunteya karma sanghena dehinam. This is chapter 14, text 7. So he says, the mode of passion is born of unlimited desires. Rajo ragatmakam vidhi. So Rajaha, mode of passion, Raga Atmakam, born of desire or lust, is born of unlimited desires. And what else? Trishna. Trishna means hankering. So Prabhupada translates, the mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti. And because of this, the embodied living entity is bound to material fruitive actions. So Tannibhadnati Kaunteya Karma Sangena Dehinam. Karma Sangena, he is by association with fruitive activity. They are bound by material fruitive actions. This is mode of passion. So mode of passion is very simple. You have only two characteristics. That it is born out of desire and hankering. Lust and hankering. So it's born out of desire and lust, and because of this, you perform fruitive actions. Because you have desire, you want result. So when you have result, you hanker for the result, you desire the result, and because of that, you become bound by fruitive actions. Whether that is good or bad, you are bound by the fruitive actions. Okay, that's mode of passion. And then, what is mode of darkness? Tamastvam ajnanajam vidhi mohanam sarvadehinam paramadalasya nidrabhis tannibhadnati bharata. O son of Bharata, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance. So it is ajnanajam, it is born of ignorance. Ajnanajam, it appears from ignorance. Vidhi, you should know. What is it? Prabhupada writes that the mode of darkness born of ignorance is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of the mode of this mode are madness, indolence, and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So you have these three results. So in all of these activities, in all the three modes of material nature, Krishna describes the characteristics. He says from where they come from, and then he gives the result. So in the mode of goodness, what was it characterized by? Huh? No, that's the result. Knowledge and happiness is the result. But free from sins, illumination, and so there is being purer than others. I also forgot. So become purer than others. It's purer than the other three modes. Krishna describes, he gives three characteristics. He says mode of goodness is purer than others. It is illuminating by nature, and it is frees you from sins. So the result of that is you get more knowledge and you become happy. Now in the mode of passion, it is born of, what is it characterized by? It is characterized by desire and hankering. And the result of that is karma sangena. You become bound by, entangled by karmic reactions, by the fruits, material fruits. Now mode of ignorance. Okay, mode of ignorance, Krishna says, what is this? It is called the mode of darkness. It is tamastvam ajnanajam vidhi. Tamaha, mode of ignorance, is produced of ignorance. The mode of ignorance is produced of ignorance. Prabhupada translates the mode of darkness produced of ignorance. So Prabhupada intersperses that word tamaha. He uses it as darkness. He uses it as ignorance also, which is true. Both are true. So the mode of darkness born of ignorance, what is it? Mohanam sarvadehinam. It causes delusion. It is characterized by delusion. Sorry, not causes. It is characterized by delusion of all living entities. What is the result of that? Prabhupada says here, Krishna says, Paramadalasya nidrabhis. Paramadalasya. Pramadam means madness. Then alasya. Alasya is indolence, lazy. Alasya, indolence. Nidrabhis, sleep. So it's characterized by madness, laziness, sleep. Okay? And what happens? Tad nibadnati bharata. In this way, it binds the living entity. So Krishna uses this word binding for two of the modes of material nature. Which are they? Rajas and tamas. How does Rajas bind the living entity? To fruitive action. How does tamas bind the living entity? Laziness, indolence, and madness. Sorry, indolence and laziness is the same thing. Sleep, laziness, and madness. Okay, so it binds the living entity in these ways. Therefore, Krishna, before he refers to these things, he speaks of the mode of goodness being purer and illuminating, and it frees one. It's the mode. It leads. It doesn't free by itself, but it leads to knowledge whereby one has a chance of becoming more free. Although Krishna also uses the word, he does use the word badnati, but he says they are conditioned by happiness. So there's a little difference between the way the conditioning happens in the mode of passion and ignorance versus the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness also you become conditioned. You become conditioned by knowledge and happiness, which is a much better state. But in the mode of passion and ignorance, you become conditioned by fruitive actions, and mode of ignorance you become conditioned by madness, sleep, and laziness. So, because of this, the mode of goodness could be said as you are kind of like very close to moving into sattva gun, so Suddha Sattva. We moving into pure goodness, which is Bhakti Yoga. Because through that knowledge, you become conditioned by a sense of happiness, and there is more of a chance to move forward. Now, therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in order to facilitate the conditioned living entities' material desires, he accepts the three modes of material nature, meaning he infuses the effects and he gives them its characteristics and he infuses its effects on the living entities. So, to do that, he inspires Brahma in the mode of passion, he inspires Lord Shiva in the mode of ignorance. And in this way, and he himself accepts the mode of goodness. He himself embodies that. He displays that. Although he is, and therefore Shukadeva Goswami here, he uses, immediately after he says that they are, after he says that Krishna accepts the three modes of material nature, it's a little like controversial to say that. And after he says that, immediately he says, he is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone and his ways are inconceivable. He says, Anupalakshya Vartmane. He says the ways are inconceivable. How can you understand? He who is completely free from the modes of material nature, who is above the three modes of material nature, Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita, I am above the three modes of material nature. He accepts the three modes. Clearly it is said, he accepts the three modes of material nature. Meaning, he accepts it like an actor. It doesn't actually influence him. For him, it is just an external. Because it is his energy, he can play with it as much as he wants. It's my energy. I will play with it. And Krishna, he does not become conditioned by his own energy. He is the master of his energy. So he is the enjoyer. So now Krishna, for the sake of the living entities, in order to help them transcend, he accepts the mode of goodness, the mode of maintenance, so that when they come to that mode of goodness, they worship him, and then they, in that way, they may transcend the three modes of material. This is how merciful Krishna is. And he puts two other demigods in charge of the condition of the material universe, primarily the mode of passion and ignorance. See, the material universe is ultimately, which mode is it? It's mode of ignorance. Ultimately, this material universe is born of ignorance. What ignorance? Forgetfulness of Krishna. That the living entity has forgotten that Krishna is the enjoyer. This is why the material universe exists. So ultimately, Tamogun is what actually predominates this universe. Right? Followed by mode of passion. And then followed by some goodness. Right? So therefore, if you look at the universe, you will find more living entities in the mode of ignorance, little less than that in the mode of passion, and quite a few, just few, in the mode of goodness. If you compare the population of this universe, just think. Human beings exist, but compared to insects, our population is nothing. There's so many insects, so many creatures in that mode of ignorance. All the, most of the aquatics, they're all in ignorance practically. Actually, all of them. All ignorance. How many creatures exist within the ocean? Can you count? Impossible. One fish can lay several thousands of eggs. And it's like insane how many living entities they reproduce and how much they produce. You just look at it. When summertime comes, you see all these insects buzzing around. They produce so many in such a short amount of time. They all die. All ignorance. So this material universe primarily is in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, we have to understand that when we are in this material universe, we are always at the risk of being subject to the mode of ignorance. That characteristic is always there. Because this is basically the foundation of this universe. And most of the living entities in this universe are conditioned by that mode of ignorance. Complete and total forgetfulness of Krishna. Like absolute. And then we have like some stages, where there's a little remembrance but mostly forgetfulness and like this. And this is our progress in devotional service. As we progress, as we come to devotional service, we have to gradually free ourselves. Tata rajastamo bhava kamalo bhajayaschaye chete ete rana vidvam sitam sattve prasidati. Sitam Satve Prasidati. Satve, mode of goodness, is where the Bhagavatam is taking us. Then, what happens? Sitam Satve Prasidati. Evam Prasanna Manaso. You become, what do you become? You become conditioned by happiness, correct? You become conditioned by happiness and knowledge. But now, this knowledge, it is not ordinary knowledge that the Bhagavatam is giving us. It is giving us knowledge of Krishna. It is giving us knowledge of Vishnu. This knowledge is what? Evam Prasanna Bhagavad Bhakti Yogataha. Then, Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. This is the knowledge that the Bhagavatam is giving. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. It is giving that realized knowledge. From whom? From realized devotees. You get this from, you're not just reading this from. You're not just picking up a text and reading it. You are hearing the pastimes of the devotees of the Lord. You're hearing the pastimes of the Bhagavatas and how they worshipped Krishna. So this is realized. And it comes from acharyas like Srila Prabhupada who are full of realization. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana Mukta Sangasya Jayate. And then not after establishing one in the mode of goodness, Mukta Sangasya Jayate. It is now proceeding on the path of liberation. Then what happens? Vidyate hridaya grantis chidyante sarva samshayaha kshiyante chasya karmani drishta evatmanishware. And all of one's misgivings are destroyed. The knots in the heart are destroyed. All the types of ignorance is destroyed. Kshiyante chasya karmani. All the reactions of one's previous activities are also destroyed. And here karma is destroyed in total. Meaning, all the four kinds of karma. What are the four kinds of karma? Bija, Kuta, Prarabdha, Aprarabdha. Right? You have the seed, you have the almost fructified stage, you have the fructified stage, and you have the desire itself. All this is destroyed. All this is destroyed. And then what happens? Drishta evatmanishware. One is able to see the Lord of one's heart. The Ishvara of our hearts. Drishta evatmanishware. Atmanishwaraha. That the Lord of our hearts, the Supreme Lord, who is situated, as Shukadeva Goswami is saying here, He is the complete whole residing within the body of everyone, and His ways are inconceivable. So, this is the process of Krishna consciousness. And Kshiroda Kashai Vishnu, so Krishna accepts the three predominating forms as Brahma, Vishnu and Shankara. So, the point is that without the order of the Supreme Lord, these two entities, Brahma and Shiva, don't have anything to do really. They execute their duties on the order of the Supreme Lord. It is Krishna who desires to create the material universe to facilitate the conditioned living entities, and as a result, Shiva and Brahma perform their activities in the mode of passion and ignorance. Therefore, in that sense also, they are empowered by the Supreme Lord. They are infused with the desire of the Supreme Lord to condition the living entities in this manner in order to fulfill their desires. So, in this way, also, it is said that when there is no living entity to perform the act of Lord Brahma, then Krishna himself accepts the form of Brahma and creates the universe. Now, as far as Shiva is concerned, Shiva is not a living entity. Shiva is Krishna who has come in contact with material nature. He is associating with material nature. He has become associated with that material nature, which means pretty much identification with the material nature. Krishna does not identify with material nature, but Shiva identifies with material nature. And that identification is Kshiram Yata Dadi Vikara Vishesha Yogat. It is a Vishesha Yoga. So therefore, sometimes Shiva acts as if he is conditioned, sometimes he acts as if he is Vishnu, completely transcendental. Ultimately, Lord Shiva is not a living entity. But there are living entities who accept, for instance, in the form of the, is it 12 Rudras or 11? 12 Rudras. 11 Rudras. 11 Rudras. In the form of 11 Rudras, some living entities accept a lot of the duties that Lord Shiva performs. Shiva also expands. Lord Shiva expands into many forms, and this whole Shiva Tattva is a completely very complex subject matter. And in that, some living entities are infused with that guna of ignorance in order to perform that activity of Lord Shiva that he performs in so many ways. Because destruction also happens in many ways. There are many types of destruction, just as there are many forms of creation. Because that you read in the Bhagavatam. What is the creation? Brahma creates. But then you also read, what is third canto? Secondary creation. Right? Because what happens? You have the Manus, you have the Manmantaras. The Manus create. Your Manu is creating. Daksha Prajapati is creating. So just like that, how now all of them, they are all actually servants of Brahma. Right? How do you, one story where you can understand this is, no. Who is this devotee, disciple of Narada Muni, who wanted to stay brahmachari but then was asked to marry? No. Swayambhuva Manu's son. Swayambhu, yeah. Huh? I don't remember what it starts with. Anyways, see, I forgot. Yeah. What is it? It's Dhruva Maharaj's lineage. Priyavrata. So Priyavrata Maharaj, he didn't want to marry. He wanted to stay brahmachari. Wanted to, But what happens is, he came in the line of Swayambhuva Manu, and they're still part of still secondary creation is still going on. Universe is not populated enough. It's like, there's so many conditioned living entities that need to be brought into this universe. Who's going to bring them? So Swayambhuva Manu is getting concerned, Brahma is getting concerned. Why is Brahma getting concerned? He did his job, no? He finished, he created the universe. Now relax. No. The thing is that the part of the creation is, so in this way, living entities, they accept. Right? Swayambhuva Manu accepts. Priyavrata, Prajapati Daksha accepts. But of course, devotee like Narada is thinking, what is the use of all of this? Liberate everyone. He goes to Prajapati Daksha, tries to liberate. Goes to Priyavrata Maharaj, say brahmachari. Like this, he keeps going around trying to disrupt. Because the pure devotee, they are now, what is the point in bringing more condition? Actually, there is a conversation. This is highly controversial, but there is a conversation where Srila Prabhupada, he speaks in a morning walk. He says, yeah, you see all these duties, marriage, and you have to beget children and this. But ultimately, what is the point? Why do you want to bring more conditioned living entities into this universe? As if there is a place of enjoyment or what? Everything is suffering here, and you want to bring more and more people. I want to have babies, I want to have this, I want to have that. But why you want to bring some poor living, at least, anyway, somebody is going to bring them. Why do you have to be participating in this thing? He says that. That's one time he said it to his sannyasis. So, anyways, that's, but devotees like Narada Muni, yeah. No, well then what happens is, you see, Brahma is good Narada's guru, right? So it's like, when your Param Guru comes, then you have to say Hare Krishna, that's all. So it's like, okay, I accept your order, that's it. No, you can't. No, that's a misunderstanding. That's a misunderstanding. No. You can't. You have to. Ultimately, you have to get the blessings of your guru. You can reason with them and this and that. You can't reject your guru. You have to reason. You can talk to him and this and that. Ultimately, their order is an order. And so therefore you should have bona fide spiritual master, so you can accept the order. But the order is an order. So Priyavrata Maharaj, therefore he accepted, because Parama Guru Brahma comes and says, Baba, not only I am your guru, I am also your great-great-grandfather. So now both ways you have to listen to me. So, Shadi karo. So, anyways, but the point is that pure devotees like Narada Muni, they understand, you see, you're all fulfilling the Lord's desires, and that's correct. Lord wants Varnashram Dharma, and he wants all this to be propagated, and he wants society to be there. But actually, all this is nonsense. All this, whole material universe shouldn't exist in the first place. It's ultimately, we are all meant to serve Krishna. So, the point is to go back home, back to Godhead. So, So Narada Muni is he tends to sometimes be quite disruptive. Um, so anyways, so here Kshirodakashayi, so Krishna on the other hand, in the form of Vishnu, he's the heart of all. He's residing within the body of everyone. And he begins this process from Karnodakashayi Vishnu. As Karnodakashayi Vishnu, he enters into the material universe itself. Like he is the center of the material universe, the cloud of material existence that is floating in the spiritual world. Karnodakashayi Vishnu is lying within that. Therefore, without him, it has no existence. That from this you have to understand that in the spiritual world, Krishna is not entering into anything. Right? There is no Paramatma in the spiritual world. The Paramatma exists in the material world because this is an artificial fig imagination that the living entities have. It is a dream of Krishna. Krishna is dreaming in this material universe that all the living entities are enjoying. This is how this material universe is created. And he has to, if he is not dreaming, means that if he is not, and how does he, it's very complicated. He dreams, but he enters into that dream. So it's a dream within a dream. And so, this cloud of material existence, Krishna is in that, and he is the center of that as Karnodakashayi Vishnu. Then from his pores and his breathing, all the universes emanate. Then he himself enters into that universe as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Now, interestingly, if you read Brahma Samhita, you will understand that you have prototypes. You have the prototype Brahma, which is the Hiranyagarbha Brahma, who is actually a form of Vishnu, is form of Krishna. Hiranyagarbha Brahma is created outside of these material universes, and you have Lord Shiva appearing there also, because Lord Shiva is the vision of Vishnu glancing on his consort Ramadevi. And Ramadevi produces Maya Devi. So Ramadevi's shadow is Maya Devi. So in this way, you have the prototypes, meaning the three modes of material nature, the predominating deities of the three modes of material nature, they are all present already. Then the subsequent creation happens, where Krishna again enters. Without him entering into the material universe, nothing happens. So he enters as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. He fills the universe into half with water, and then he lies down on it. And then he creates Brahma from his navel. And then Brahma begins the creation. And then from Brahma, Shiva also comes. And like this, there is a subsequent creation. And then like this, more creation. Then Shiva has his servants, Brahma has his servants. And they are all busy creating things. So this is how, and apart from that, Krishna, also when Brahma is creating, whatever he creates, every single being that he creates, Krishna goes into them. He goes into every living entity's heart. Because without that, the pig won't be a pig. Without that, the cow won't be a cow. Without that, the human being won't be a human being. Nothing exists without Krishna. So in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is sustaining everything by entering into everything. Meaning, actually, and he's sustaining all this because it's all artificial. It's all artificial. That he's going and sustaining all of this. He has to meaning Krishna has to prop it all up. Right? Krishna is propping it up. Because actually this existence is illusion. And this Jada Shakti, it doesn't have any potency of its. This Jada Shakti is inferior to the living entity. This Jada Shakti, it doesn't have potency of its own without Krishna. Therefore, for instance, when Krishna decides to wind up the material universe, Jada Shakti isn't doing anything. It's just dormant, that's all. It just exists, that's it. Because Krishna at that point he has wound it up. He's like, enough of this. For now we'll put a halt to this. Sometimes when you prop something up, sometimes you give it a little break. So Krishna is like, he gives it a little break, then he props it back up. So creation and destruction of this material universe happens in this way. So the point to understand from here is that how will you understand all these things? The Purusha avatars, therefore, are his plenary expansions. So the plenary expansions, meaning that they are expansions of his what happened? So, this plenary expansions, the Purushavataras, meaning the the three Purushas. Which are the three Purushas? No. Karnodakasai Vishnu, Garbhodakasai Vishnu, and Sridhardakasai Vishnu. Purushavataras are not Gunavataras. Gunavataras are Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Right? But Purushavataras are Karnodakasai Vishnu, Mahavishnu, Garbhodakasai Vishnu, and Shirodakasai Vishnu. So these are the three Purushavataras. And these three Purushavataras are maintaining the entire universe, entire material existence altogether. Ekapad Vibhuti is maintained by them. This 1/4 of the creation is being maintained by them. And how do you understand them? Through Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him. How do you understand? Actually, very interesting. See, in chapter 14, after Krishna describes all the three modes of material nature, what does he say? He says, no. That before that, he says, Mamchayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitya brahma bhuyaya kalpate. And this is an answer to Arjuna's question, Kairlingas tri gunan etan atito bhavati prabho kim achara katamam chaitams trin gunan ativartate. Oh my dear Lord, by which symptoms is one known who is transcendental to these modes? What is his behavior and how does he transcend the modes of nature? So to this, Krishna, he answers first. He gives description of what is a transcendental person. Prakasham cha pravirtim cha moham eva cha pandava nadveshti sampravrittani nanivartnani kankshati. Anyways, he goes, it's a long verse. He says, one who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all the reactions of the material modes, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active, who is situated in the self, who regards alike happiness and distress, who looks upon a lump of earth, stone, and a piece of gold with an equal eye, who is equal towards the desirable and undesirable, who is steady, situated equally well in praise and blame, honor and dishonor, who treats alike both friend and enemy, and who has renounced all material activities. Such a person is said to have transcended the modes of nature. But then Krishna gives the actual conclusion, which means to get all this, one has to be a devotee of Krishna. Mamchayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitya brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So Srila Prabhupada writes here that bhakti yoga is the only process by which one can become competent to know him. Bhaktya mama bijanati yavanyaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishayetad anantaram. Vishatetad anantaram. So, because the empiric philosophers, because the empiric philosophers and mystic yogis cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead, he is called Anupalakshya Vartmane, the Lord of the inconceivable way, or Bhakti Yoga. See, it's very difficult to understand why Krishna does these things, how he creates this universe, why he creates it, all these different types of creation. But all this can be understood if we understand one thing. That one thing is, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. We are meant to be enjoyed by him. And this whole material universe is being created to facilitate the unholy desire of the living entity to enjoy this material universe. And since this is an unholy and artificial imposition upon the mind of the living entity, that the living entity is desiring this unnatural position, the creation itself is actually a very complex thing. It's a complex activity that happens. And so it's not very easy. It's layers and layers and layers and layers of conditioning, and it all happens. How can the living entity, who is actually transcendental to the three modes of material nature, how can he ever be conditioned by the modes of material nature? How is it possible that which is spiritual, that which is superior in nature, how can that which is eternal be conditioned to think that he is temporary? How can that which is full of knowledge, we are full of knowledge, living entity is full of knowledge, how can this living entity become forgetful of Krishna? It is possible only when Krishna infuses his Shakti into the modes of material nature by which the living entity is bound. He himself has to enter it. And it happens by his Maya. Actually, it is Supreme Lord who is conditioning the living entities, but he does not like to do it directly. He does not like to do it directly because because he loves the living entities. Therefore, he creates such a roundabout process where so many other personalities are involved, so many stages are involved, and he becomes completely hidden because the living entity does not want to see him. And in this way, the living entity forgets Krishna, he who cannot be forgotten, he who is present everywhere, who is present in everything. We have forgotten him. We don't see him. We don't see him. Nothing exists in this world without him being in it, but we do not see him. I want to see God. I want to see God. He's everywhere, Baba. But we forgot. We cannot see him. Why? Because we are envious of Krishna. We are envious. We are envious. We have become envious of Krishna. We have forgotten him. This is our unfortunate situation. Unnecessarily, we are giving Krishna so much trouble. He has to go through so much trouble to create this universe. Why? Because he still loves us and in spite of us having a desire to want to forget him, to want to call him dead. He doesn't exist. God doesn't exist. Who cares for God? What is that? What's the verse? Why should I care of Nitai? Who's Nityananda? Why shall I care? Anyways, one who does not chant the holy name of Nityananda Prabhu. So this we forget. We think, why do I need Krishna? Well, who is Krishna? For us to come to this position, we are part and parcel of him. It's just amazing. This material creation is only possible by Krishna. No. Ahankare matta hoya nitai pada pasariya asatyere satya kori mane. Ahankare matta hoya. That becoming infused by arrogance. But for that arrogance to actually, that material arrogance to act upon the living entity, it can only happen by Krishna's desire. See, therefore, we have to understand that some people ask, how is it possible that, we are with Krishna in the spiritual, how could we forget him? How could we forget? How did we fall down? Well, if you understand that Krishna can create this material universe and make us all forget him, just because we desire to do so, then we can understand. Where does that desire come from? Well, it comes from the minute independence that the living entity has to love or to not love. That's it. Krishna infuses the living entity with inspiration according to his desire. Bhagavad Gita verse, forgetting. Krishna says that he gives faith. Sataya shraddhaya yutyas tasya aradhanamihate labhate cha tatak kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Sataya shraddhaya yuktas. He endows you with faith in the demigod. Otherwise, how will you get faith in a demigod? You are servant of Krishna. You are part and parcel of Krishna. Who is this demigod? How will you develop attachment? Sataya shraddhaya yuktas. Tasya radhanamiyate. And he gives the intelligence how to worship also. Oh, you want to please that demigod, you have to do this, that. Tasya radhanamiyate. Labhate cha tatakaman. And he also fulfills the desire. They get their results fulfilled. How? Mayaiva vihitan hitan. It's all through me. Therefore, if one actually wants to attain Krishna, Prabhupada said one can become 1 minute. Prabhupada said it only takes 1 minute to achieve perfection. But we don't have desire. This is our problem. One moment, yeah. We don't have desire. That story that Parameshwar Prabhu said, very powerful story. I mean, it's like Prabhupada was writing his books at 2 a.m. at night, and some devotee you know, is passing by and to go pass water, and Prabhupada calls him in. Who is there? Prabhupada calls him in, and then Prabhupada just asks him in a very intense way. So, why are you? No, what? What are you doing? What are you doing? That was the first question. Yeah, then the only question. So then, yeah, why are you not doing what I'm doing? Oh, Prabhupada, I have to sleep. I have to go pass water and this. Why are you not doing what I'm doing? You know, because you're Prabhupada and I'm just some ordinary. Why are you not doing what I'm doing? Because I'm envious of Krishna. No, I'm not. So brother, living, that disciple just burst out. Just suddenly just dawned upon him, because I'm envious of Krishna. Prabhupada is not envious. The whole next purport, and there's so many things in this purport, but the next purport is nectarian, and it's pretty much continuing this subject matter. Very nice. Because I'm envious of Krishna. We are envious of Krishna. What to do? It's the only reason why we are suffering. Every single suffering. Why do we need to do anything? Anything but worship Krishna. Why do we need to do anything but worship Him? Why do we need to do anything but serve Guru and Krishna? Enviousness, that's all. Okay. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Can you pull up this verse, Nelly? This 1:2:33. There's this verse very much related to this purport where Sutta Goswami says, Aso guno mayir bhaver bhuta shukshmendriyatmabhi swanirmiteshu nirvishto bhunkte bhuteshu tadgunan. You can see that over there. The super soul enters into the bodies of the created beings who are influenced by the modes of material nature and causes them to enjoy the effects of these modes by the subtle mind. And we can see this, that in the churning of the milk ocean also, when the Daityas, the Devatas are churning, are pulling Mandara from one side to another, and they're trying to do that. In that pastime also, when all of them start getting tired, Lord Vishnu enters into the demigods even more, and he inspires them in the mode of goodness. The Daityas, he inspires them primarily in the mode of passion, and Vasuki,
the mode of ignorance,
mode of ignorance,
so that he doesn't. Sorry, he's not suffering. He's not suffering so much.
Yeah.
As a homeless people. Actually, Kalki was telling me a story. Remember this guy in Pitt Street, the guy the guy who crackhead is like it always looks like his pant would fall anytime, and he was there, and Kalki was telling me how one day he crossed that guy he came back the previous night. So he was coming back from Harinam, and this guy was looking at a wall and yelling and talking and making all signs, and pretty intense talk, and then the next morning, you go for Mangalarti, so you walk, and the guy's still doing the same thing. This is like the whole night later, and he's doing the same thing. And then after Mangalarti, after morning program, walking back, and the guy's still doing the same thing. No, Kalki was saying he must have been doing that for at least 14 hours or something. It's 14 hours just talking to a wall. It's just, and pretty, what must have you put inside your body that it's doing this? It's so much suffering, must be. If you were sane, you can't do that without feeling pain, anxiety, suffering, but this intoxication, this mode of ignorance, what it does is it makes that suffering tolerable, and the idiot is thinking actually that he's deriving some pleasure out of it, where he's killing himself. He's gone crazy. What must be going on? So this madness, and all the living entities you see, actually, you just look, Prabhupada explains, see all these lower living entities in these lower forms of life, they're actually suffering a lot. They suffer a lot. What is there in their body? Their bodies are not, for instance, reptiles, they don't have a constant temperature, right? Their temperature is influenced by the weather. So sometimes they have to, lie in the sun to warm their bodies up. Sometimes they have to cool themselves off by going into the shade. But just imagine, your temperature of your body has to keep changing. You have to keep going. You have to keep going somewhere. And when they go to those places, that's where their predator is sitting right there, just waiting to kill them. It's such a miserable life. But you go and try to take the life of that reptile, it'll immediately run away because that life is very dear to itself. It's like, oh, no, 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 I can't give up this body. No, no, I have to hug on to this suffering and live this life because I don't know anything better. I don't know anything better. That ignorance. And you think about even and this is what anybody who wants to enjoy, all of us, right? All of us, we want to enjoy the sense pleasure. So many times we suffer like anything by trying to gratify our senses, by thinking of our body, but we still do it again. I want to hug. I want to hug this, hug myself, hug my body, and never forget. Without ever it's like, always forgetting that we're just not the enjoyers. But it's such a miserable, and it all comes because of enviousness of Krishna. So this, that you're reading here, it causes them to enjoy the effects of by the subtle mind. It's just how the material modes of nature work. You cannot understand it without understanding that Krishna himself has personally, these modes of nature are empowered by him to act in this way. Upon the pure living soul who can serve Krishna, give pleasure to Krishna, we can give pleasure to Krishna. He who is fully satisfied, he's fully content, he's not like us hankering, not influenced by the mode of passion hankering. Krishna is fully satisfied. He is, what is he? What is that Sanskrit word? He is satisfied, self-satisfied. As Atma Rama. He's Atma Rama. He is fully satisfied. He's such an Atma Rama. But that Atma Rama, we can give him pleasure. That is, again, this is all inconceivable. Therefore, Bhakti Yoga is inconceivable. Anupalakshya Vartmane. Inconceivable process. Very inconceivable. Yeah. Any other comments? Yeah.
When you talk about Bhakti Yoga, cleans and purified, and also mode of goodness, purifies.
Mode of goodness,
Yeah. And Bhakti Yoga in general destroy all sinful reactions.
Correct.
And all the karma.
Correct.
But it looks like Nama Paradha and Vaishnava Paradha are even worse than sinful activities, because might stop our process of Bhakti Yoga. So how we can clean the offenses against the holy name or against the Vaishnavas?
How do you clean the offenses against the holy name? You chant the holy name purely. Nama Aparad is destroyed by Shuddhanam. The effects of Nama Aparad are destroyed by Shuddhanam. In association of sadhu, one advances from the stage of Nama Aparad to Nama Bhas and then to Shuddhanam. So, through the process of chanting the holy name purely, the effects of offenses against the holy name are destroyed, automatically destroyed. Vaishnava Aparad, how is it destroyed? By seeking the blessings of the Vaishnavas, by asking forgiveness. See how this is. Nama Aparad is destroyed by Nama itself. Vaishnava Aparad is destroyed by Vaishnavas. Aparad to Hari is destroyed by worshipping Hari. That's all.
Ask forgiveness to a specific devotee you commit offenses.
Yeah, if it is possible.
And if he is not...
There's a detailed lecture. It's a big subject matter.
I can send you the lecture if you like.
And what about... Okay, thank you. And what about if he's not in the body?
Yeah. So that lecture will answer that. In brief, if he's not in the body, then what you will do is you will repent. You will ask forgiveness, because the Vaishnava is not conditioned by his material body. You can still... It's the act of repentance. But if he's present, then one should take the effort to go and reach him. But if he's not present on the planet anymore, then one may pray and one also prays to one's guru and the other Vaishnavas. One can approach the other Vaishnavas and tell them that I have committed this offense to this departed Vaishnava and I am feeling very sorry. Then if the other assembled Vaishnavas forgive that devotee, then that offense is also forgiven. It's all a whole science behind doing that. Yeah, but the point is Vaishnava Aparadha is destroyed by Vaishnavas only. Not by Hari, not by holy name, by Vaishnavas. So, yeah. Yeah, Mataji's, anything? Okay, we'll send the class in the group chat. Yes.
In the verse, Davi Ashaguna Mai Mama Maya Yaya Mameva Ye Parapajante Maya Mitam Tarantite. I mean, it was really interesting how Krishna calls it a divine, like a divine energy. Like usually there's an understanding like, okay, it's the material modes and that, the material. But he calls it divine. Divine usually is like indicates like spiritual or like heavenly.
Right.
So that's like it tells you like the strength. He tells you the strength of these material modes. They're literally divine energy. It's Krishna's energy.
Yeah. Good point.
Hare Krishna. I was wondering if there's examples of people in the mode of goodness mostly, like in the West.
Turn the camera. Oh, anyways, that's your question?
Yeah. I know there's, like ignorance, like there's like, most people, right? And then passion, there's a lot of people that are like hustling to try to make money and do whatever, or they're really lusty. But then in terms of mode of goodness, there's like this like kind of like facade of it, like where people will say, oh, I'm fulfilled, I make only this much, but I'm completely content with what I have. I don't have
You'll see
any
some
desires.
signs of the mode of goodness. You see, you'll see some signs of the mode of goodness in people who are some God-fearing, for instance, a little bit. You'll see those who are content, satisfied, who want to perform charitable activities in the true sense, not like for the sake of like establishing foundations and making yourself like a big popular person, but people who genuinely like to come and do some service and things like that. And so you'll see some characteristics of the mode of goodness. But the thing is, you'll understand that this mode of goodness it hasn't done much, in the sense like, remember, real mode of goodness is that which leads one to the Vedas, because it has to purify one of sinful reactions, right? That purification of sinful reactions, which is what Krishna defines as one of the characteristics of the mode of goodness, is hardly present in the West. Because pravrittim cha nivrittim cha, they don't know anything. See, they don't know Shastra. When they don't know Shastra, they may perform some pious activities, they may perform some sinful activities, and somebody out of a natural inclination may be more inclined to performing pious activities, but they won't be so expert at destroying their sinful activities. Therefore, and sometimes, Prabhupada would kind of like, for instance, compare intellect. He said, Varnashram, it still exists even in modern society. For instance, the scientists are like the Brahmanas, they are like the intellectuals. So, like they do like knowledge, but and some of them are not learning knowledge because they want to become famous or something. They just like knowledge. But what knowledge are they seeking? It's material knowledge, but even that material knowledge is a very inferior type of material knowledge. Whereas in the Veda, in the Vedic society, there are people who are like Brahmanas who are not devotees, right? But they seek knowledge of Shastra. They seek knowledge of different rituals that free one from sinful reactions. They seek knowledge of the heavenly planets. They seek knowledge of somewhat higher realms of happiness. So the knowledge that they get also in modern society is also that of somewhat of an inferior nature. And generally, we give example of these scientists, but if those scientists are also drinking and they're just some loafer, horrible, otherwise they have horrible characteristics and nature, then they are not actually in the mode of goodness either. They are completely influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance, actually. So, therefore, they may know a lot about, they may be like expert in math or physics or chemistry or something like this, but still it's completely mode of ignorance because they don't even know who they are. You do, this is one of the points that you see. One who is in the mode of goodness, he knows who he is. He knows he is Atma. He knows he is spirit soul. He knows that you have to follow that Supreme Lord created this universe, and that the Supreme Lord gave Vedas. Every person who is in the mode of goodness knows this. What? Vedas come from, Vedas are the breathing of the Supreme Lord. Vedas are come from, therefore they say, the Shruti, Shruti, Shruti. It was spoken at the time of creation. It came along with creation. Everybody, Mayavadi, impersonalist, this, that, whoever it may be, they understand this as the Vedas. Therefore, the Vedas are apaurushaya. They understand that. It's not written by some ordinary human being. But people don't know any knowledge of Vedas. Without knowledge of Veda, you cannot actually understand who you are. They invest, they have a concept of spirit soul. But they think the soul is the body. They think the soul is the human body, for instance. They think cats and dogs don't have soul. So like this kind of ignorance, ultimately that ignorance comes in. Therefore, in this Hinandra, Hinandra, Kirata, Hunandra, Pulinda, Pukkasha. This is stated. And Yavanas, this is all Yavana, right? Western, Mlechas, Yavanas in the Western world, forgetful, ignorant. Varnashram Dharma doesn't exist. So primarily influenced by modes of passion and ignorance. I'll end with this. Srila Prabhupada, in his song, Markine Bhagavata Dharma, he states this. Where's that? Can you pull up that verse? Just read that and that's it. And there. Is it from Krishna Tava Punya Habibhai? Yeah, sorry, it's Krishna Tava Punya Habibhai. Prayer to the lotus feet of Krishna. Not Markine Bhagavata Dharma.
Hold on.
You could just read it, Prabhu. You don't have to cast it.
Okay, I'm just trying to find it.
How will these worlds filled with...
So, as Prahlad Maharaj says, sorry, it's not in this one, it's in the other one. It's not Markine Bhagavad Dharma. Actually,
Krishna Tava Punya Habibhai, it's not in that.
no. Markine Bhagavad Dharma, I think, is different from that one.
You just get the songbook, I can easily find it.
Rajastamo gune era sabai achana Vasudev kata ruchi nahi se prasanna. He says, "Oh my Lord, why have you got me to this terrible place? Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudev. I do not know how they will be able to understand it."
So, to answer your question in short, there have been some examples, such as Saint Francis of Assisi. He actually transcended, right? So, there are examples in the West, very few, very rare, far and few, but there are examples. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srimad